Let me just say once again that I am not UrinatingTree. I'm just a fan of his that loves the videos that he makes. I was just bored and I thought that I would make an MLS haters guide just like he always does. Considering that he doesn't make MLS content, I thought, why not? And no, I'm not worried about him coming after me for ripping him off. I highly doubt that he cares. But I will say to Tree that if you do happen to find yourself watching this, all I gotta say is, keep up the great work. You do some great videos, man, and I can't wait to see what else you do next. Now, on with the show. It has finally arrived. After a long, grueling summer of soccer with more twists and turns than an overpriced stadium pretzel, the MLS postseason is about to kick off. A time where several teams continue their quests to call themselves champions, all while Euro snobs whine about how they don't follow the European format of crowning the best team as the champion. To them, I simply say this rebuttal. Fuck you! We do things differently in America, and that's how we like it. Winning the most points is nice and all, but now is prove it or move it time. Everyone is starving to knock off the top teams in the league, and chaos is sure to arise. Playoff soccer, baby. In my opinion, it's probably the most underrated playoff stage in North American sports, filled with drama, controversy, and above all else, hope for 18 teams. Yes, you heard that right. While I do think the MLS Cup playoffs are fun, it seems like they are also in the midst of an identity crisis. The league seems to get a little too match-heavy planning this bracket. Don't believe me? Try to follow it. 9 teams from both conferences enter, with the bottom 2 seeds playing in a wildcard knockout game. The 16 teams remaining will play in the first round, which will be a best-of-3 series. And then it will be single elimination from the conference semifinals onward. Yeah, this totally isn't confusing as all hell. Why can't the league just choose a playoff format and stick to it? Regardless, soccer-hungry fans will still tune in because we just crave the chaos. And I'm sure we'll have it in spades with the teams entering the gauntlet. Let's meet this year's combatants. If you're an Oakland A's fan, I advise you to look away now. What you're seeing is a John Fisher-run team when he puts more than the bare minimum into it. At least, more than a baseball team. San Jose once again returns to the postseason, exceeding their already low expectations. With young talent like Argentine Christian Espinoza having a career year and Jeremy Ebobisse steadily behind him, this Luchi Gonzalez-led team oozes potential. I wish I can say the same thing about your big money signing. Carlos Grazo hasn't been terrible, but he hasn't been on anyone's radar. Maybe the playoffs can change that. History is not on your side, however. Ever since returning in 2008, the Quakes have only made the playoffs 4 times. How many rounds did they win in that stretch? 1. Just 1. Will history rear its ugly head again? Or will history change for the better of the Earthquakes? That's a question only they themselves can answer. Congratulations, Kansas City! You've proven the doubters wrong and have returned to the playoffs. Some say this was expected, though. Last year was a down year. They got this year, they said. It started out a bit shaky. Losing 7 of your first 10 matches will do that to you. And this was without recording a win. But ever since that 2-1 pantsing by Montreal, the switch flipped. They got hot in the West. They had the most goals scored at 45, the fewest losses in the league, and on top of that, Alan Pulido having the best season of his MLS career, earning him a contract extension for 3 more years. This is a scrappy young bunch who take no prisoners and have fun doing so. However, what goes up must always come down. The cool down might be nearing. They still let some results slip away, especially in the middle of the season. Hell, they almost missed the playoffs entirely if it wasn't for Portland running out of gas. I know it's a clean slate, a whole new season, yada yada yada, but something tells me they might not go far. Even if they get past San Jose, St. Louis awaits. And they took 2 out of 3 from you in league play. It's not going to be easy, SKC. Let's see how well you can do. Oh great, you're here. Damn it, I wanted there to be only one Texas team in the playoffs. Oh well, we can both laugh at Austin as they went from 0 to 0 in record time. But if I had to say something good about y'all, you do know how to develop players both foreign and domestic. Obrian, Camungo, and Alan Velasco have put together decent campaigns. And Jesus Ferreira is still Jesus Ferreira. He's getting a European contract soon. Not a matter of if, but a matter of when. Nico Estevez has reinforced the winner's mentality to hopefully take this team far. Some may want Frisco to go on a run, but I don't. I want to see this team fail. And look at that, they're going up against Seattle, who utterly dominate almost every postseason matchup between the two. Nothing will make me happier than to see this team crash and burn. This means they're gonna win it all, aren't they? I'm so proud of you, Vancouver. You've finally gotten back to the playoffs after a decent performance from your young squad. I'm not just saying that to be cute. Vancouver really dug themselves out of the doldrums this year. It's not the most flashiest names in the game, but what they lack in star power, they make up for it in quality goal scoring. Ryan Gauld and Brian White pick up most of the slack of scoring, while Yohei Takaoka mans the goalposts. A revival of form thanks to Vanni Sartini leads to a contract extension for the boss. Well deserved. Immediately, Vancouver could be overlooked coming into these playoffs, which is why I consider them the sleeper team of this year's postseason. I expect them to play their asses off, either for glory or to save the franchise from hilarity. In their 12 seasons in MLS, they've only made the playoffs 5 times and only scrounged up 1 postseason win. Damn, even San Jose couldn't do that. You've had quite the year, RSL. Quite the year indeed. Despite botching the Aaron Herrera trade in the offseason, many still considered you a favorite to go far in the West. With goal warriors like Jefferson Savarino, Justin Glad, and the returning to MLS Chicho Arango, Real Salt Lake seemingly have enough to consider themselves a serious contender. Their road form is also impressive with an 8-5-4 away record. I would say they have a chance, but they're going up against the recently revived Houston. While they did play them in a draw in May, they also allowed the Dynamo to put up 3 against themselves in both August games, all in the span of 3 days. Yep, you guys are fucked. Have a good day. I can't believe I'm about to say these words out loud. For only the second time in 10 whole years, the Houston Dynamo have made it back to the playoffs. Hell has officially frozen over. Let me paint a picture as to how astounding this is. Just 1 year ago, the team was considered toxic. Players with egos up the wazoo, losses abound, and Paulo Nagamura sacked in his lone year with the club. Pat Onset had a lot on his plate to fix, so he began with a huge overhaul. And it paid off. Eric Svachenko, Amin Bassi, and Franco Escobar leading the new crop to glory, while stalwarts from the Purge like Captain Hector Herrera, Steve Clark, and even Corey Baird having revival seasons. Not to mention Coco Carrasquilla having a career year for club and country. He is gonna be so good when Europe comes a-calling. Ben Olsen was seemingly given a challenging task of keeping the ship steady, and he has exceeded all expectations, winning the US Open Cup against a favored Miami squad and top 4 in the Western Conference. I just hope there's enough magic to guide us far. But if there's something you can always count on is that whenever the Dynamo make the postseason, they always pull a deep playoff run out of their ass. Guide us to glory, Ben. Or at least don't blow it like the Astros just did. The title defense continues with earnest. As expected, LAFC made it to the playoffs. But not as expected, it was a bit harder than before. That's not to say they're not capable of repeating. While it is mostly just a carry job by the meteoric rise of Dennis Bawanga, Carlos Vela and Ryan Hollingshed are capable of crushing opponents with beautiful goals. That is if they don't park the bus. The only reason they don't have a higher seed is because of crushing losses to teams they should have beaten on paper. Losing in the Rose Bowl to the Galaxy. A 2-1 shellacking in Charlotte. Being humiliated by the Miami Messis, and getting blanked out by the Houston Dynamo. Twice. In back-to-back games. And this was a team they've only lost to once in their entire existence. You better hope the kinks are all dinged out. The last thing you guys want is Galaxy fans welcoming you to the couch of elimination again. Welcome back, Seattle. Had some fun on your little fall vacation last year? I know what you're thinking. What the hell happened last year? Why break the streak? The only advice for you guys is to completely forget that last year even existed. Yes, even the Champions League win. Fun moment, but that's in the past. You still got rock-solid goal scorers from that CCL run. Albert Rusnak, Raul Ruidiaz, Nico Lodero, and Christian Roldan. And who can forget the homegrown product Jordan Morris leading the team with 11 goals. Brian Schmetzer seemingly has his team ready for another cup run. But does he have enough? Even the top teams can't stay at the top forever. It's been a good run for them so far, but it might be the beginning of the end for Seattle. Missing the playoffs last year is usually the first step of a downward spiral. The only hope you have left is to send off your old crest in a blaze of glory. Welcome to the wacky world of MLS, St. Louis. There's not much to say other than you're getting your shit kicked in all year. Hey, it's nothing personal. Almost every expansion team in any sport has to experience pain their first go-around. Take this year as a learning experience to see what works and what doesn't. Just get the first few kinks out of your system and you'll be fine. Now sink or swim. Well, aren't I eating the biggest pile of shit this side of the Mississippi? While it is true that expansion teams typically have a rough few couple of years, I tend to forget that soccer doesn't follow the same formula. At least not all the time. St. Louis entered the league with little to no expectations and managed to turn heads upside down, winning 6 of their first 8 MLS games and drumming up the best start for an expansion side in league history. With a deadly attacking force led by Joao Klaus and Nicolas Gioacchini, as well as a brick wall manned by their general, Roman Berkey, St. Louis seemingly has all the firepower to cruise to the big enchilada. However, do they have enough? Why do I ask? It's because they won 5 of their last 12 matches. Could have not let some of those draws and losses not slip from your grasp. Better be careful, St. Louis. We've seen the top team fall on his face in their first match of the postseason before. Better hope to avoid that feeling. You made it. Good to see that. It's been a long season, and you could have easily been on the outside looking in for the second straight year. But thanks to Montreal and Chicago tripping over themselves on decision day and Miami running out of Messi magic for the year, you are the last one standing. Sad to say, people are expecting you to get bounced considering your top goal scorers are Swiderski and a Russian roulette of random players. On top of that, you've got the lowest goal differential amongst this year's playoff crop. Things aren't looking up for y'all. But they say teams with nothing to lose are the most dangerous to face. You might be going down, but take some teams down with y'all. Anton will be smiling at y'all from the heavens. Good luck, boys. You are some of the luckiest sons of bitches in the league. You know that, right? At the midway point of the season, you are on the outside looking in at the playoff line. Good, but not good enough. Some of the players you brought in have only provided brief spurts of hope. Gerard Struber couldn't make you a winner, so Red Bull packed his shit and told him to fuck off. Your big money player Dante Bonzier seemed more interested in hurling racist obscenities at opposing players and scoring goals. Seriously, only 6 games for a racist remark? I know it's not an egregious offense, but it still feels like a slap in the wrist. Unfortunately for him, the soccer gods seem to agree. Spine injury. Out for the season. Hell, if it wasn't for Anibal Godoy pulling a pro gamer move in stoppage time, it could have been you on the outside looking in. But a penalty kick win was enough for the new postseason streak in American sports to continue on. In spite of all the bullshit you had to go through, the Red Bulls will be granted a home game in the wild card round. They're getting shut out in Red Bull Arena by Charlotte, aren't they? It's business as usual for Nashville. It's kind of been routine for them to perform decently and get a good playoff position. However, this time they got stifled to end with a low seed this year. That's not to say Nashville doesn't have what it takes to go far. Hani Mukhtar needs no introduction, but there's also supporting casts with the likes of Fafa Pico, Teal Bunbury, and Walker Zimmerman. The team has goal scorers, but it's more spread out than other squads. This is more like the classic saying, quantity over quality. Will it be enough to take down Orlando, though? That's up to them to answer. You're back in the playoffs again, Atlanta. Good for them. You may not be the same team that would dominate the postseason, but you still have decent playmakers in your arsenal. Georgios Giacomakis has turned into an absolute dynamo this year, scoring goal after beautiful goal as he tried to play spoiler in the Golden Boot race. But it is yet another team who follows quantity over quality, as at least every position besides goalkeeper has goals up the wazoo. This team has the makings of playing dark horse candidates as they begin on the road in Columbus. Unfortunately, one minor problem. They'll have to start without Thiago Almada. He got red carded on decision day, which means he'll be suspended for the first game. If you somehow get a good result by the time he gets back, you should be fine. Try to use up whatever time you got left with him before he inevitably gets bought out by European teams. It's been quite the bumpy campaign for the Revolution. The boys played decently for what has been a hectic Eastern Conference. The fact that they made it in with a 5th seed should be commended. Carlos Gil has put together the best individual season for the club with 11 goals and 9 assists. Gustavo Bo has also been decent in what could be his final dance in MLS. Unfortunately, the focus all year hasn't been on the men on the pitch. It's been on the men off of it. Bruce Arena has been canned. An investigation was launched in which he allegedly made insensitive remarks to players, causing his sudden benching and eventual resignation. Richie Williams was left to clean up the mess before he too got sacked. It's all up to your second team coach to guide them to glory. All signs point to them getting bounced, but we've seen this story before. They're somehow going to go on a massive run and shock everyone to another Eastern Conference title. Okay, maybe that's a bit too bold for this New England team, but hey, it's worth a shot. Welcome back to the postseason, Columbus. It's been a minute. I hope you've finally gotten over your 2020 hangover because now it's go time. Wilfred Nancy has done an excellent job rejuvenating the team after a handful of average seasons. It's all hands on deck with the likes of Christian Ramirez, Darlington Nagbe, Aiden Morris, and Alexander Matan putting up rock-solid performances on a weekly basis. Losing Lucas Celerion to the Saudi Arabian League was a big blow, but luckily they have a new franchise general to rally around, Cucho Hernandez. If you don't recognize that name, you will in due time. The man has put together an MVP caliber season and the crew will follow him to another championship run. My apologies in advance for the early playoff exit. It was a little scary for you, Philadelphia. Winning 2 of your first 8 was not a pretty sight for y'all. Luckily for you, the boys managed to snap out of the honeymoon phase fast. With the dual-headed threat of Daniel Gazdag and Julian Carranza leading the charge, the Union are primed to go back to MLS Cup, hoping for a different outcome. I'd say it's a slam dunk, if you forget about winning 2 of your last 10. Count yourselves lucky you had more draws than losses, but this doesn't really inspire confidence for a conference championship defense. Tighten up the screws fast, Philly. New England is looking for a repeat result from your decision day match. Proceed with caution. Nobody was really going to challenge the top seed in the Supporter Shield race, but if there was a team that almost came close, it had to be Orlando City. For good reason, too. Facundo Torres and Duncan McGuire have been the City Beautiful's top goal scorers. Martin Ojeda has played decently for his DP contract, and Junior Ursa returns to reinforce the backline. They're the team that hopes that they can be the alpha to Cincinnati's omega. But before they get to them, they'll have to hold off many challengers gunning for both of them. Nashville is up first to challenge their spot. Do what you gotta do, Orlando. I predicted this team to keep the ship steady earlier in the year, and they kept it steady all right, all the way to the best record of the league. Pat Noonan's squad wasn't satisfied with just winning 1 playoff game. They wanted to dominate the league. With scoring addicts like Brendan Vasquez, Alvaro Barrial, and Bopenza, and freshly extended Roman Celentano manning the sticks, this team feels all well-rounded. And this is all without mentioning the runaway MVP, Lucho Acosta, truly blossoming into the number 10 Cincy has always dreamed of. It all culminated with their first trophy since the USL days. I just hope they're not just satisfied with the Supporter Shield. Some teams get it and say, that's good enough. But if I were Cincy, I'd get all the trophies we can. And they do have a good shot of going far. That is if they don't get gunned down before it's all said and done. Just keep doing what's worked for you and you'll be fine. And no Burrowhead crap. The one thing for sure about the playoffs is that absolutely nothing is for sure. Hell, even predicting who would make the bracket is hard. God, I am an idiot. With that being said, we have our combatants. So now we gotta predict who's gonna make it in the final. All these teams have a good case as to why they think they're gonna make it all the way. It's honestly very obvious if you think about it for some of them. I'm pretty much gonna fail at it anyway, so I'm just gonna say something completely random and just stick with it. Houston versus Columbus. No, I'm not being biased, you shut up. I really think both teams are very hot at the right time. Both teams are re-emerging at the right time. Both have quality star players. Both have postseason experience. Call me biased, call me a glory rider, I don't care. I have a feeling it will be the Dynamo versus the Crew in the MLS Cup final. But knowing how much of a failure Urinating Tree's predictions usually go, it's gonna be Frisco versus Cincinnati, isn't it? Fuck! With